Uh, Sorry, I'm late. This has been chaotic. I arrived all the way in White Rock and then discovered, thank you, it was hard to find the place I was coming to. And the security guard was asking me questions. Like, it drives me crazy when I'm like, hey, can you help? Like, he's like, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'm looking for the Veranda Cafe. And he's like, oh, well, where is it? Like, I don't know. I'm asking you because I don't know. And you're a security guard here. Anyways, I made it. I apologize for being so late. Um, it just is one of those days. You ever have those days where like just everything is crazy? And um, I thought it was going to take about an hour and a half to get out here, and it took 2 hours, partly because I was taking the Canada line to get here. And there are two stations relatively close together. One is Bridge House, one is Bridgeport. And I got off at the wrong station. So I set everything off by 20 minutes and then nothing connected. So here I am. We are at this very lovely little veranda cafe, literally on the beach in White Rock, BC. So to give you a little idea, White Rock is 45 kilometers. Don't ask me what that is in miles. It's 45 kilometers from Vancouver. I don't know where in Vancouver the 45 kilometers is measured from, but I live close to the downtown core of Vancouver. So if it's measuring from there, I'm at least 45 kilometers away. If it's measuring from the edge of Vancouver, I'm even further. But anyways, I hope you're all doing fabulous today. Um, yes, I've started the tour. Yeah. Um, I am here. We are in White Rock. We are at this really charming little veranda cafe. I'll show you in just a minute. And then we'll head out to the beach. But I needed a coffee because I've had a crazy day. Before I even left to come out here, I was in a master class on doing podcasts this morning. It's quite an adventurous day for me. How are you guys all doing? Where are we from? If you don't have it in your handle where you're from, can you just drop me in the chat what city you're from or like what area you're from, just to see where everybody is from around here. So to give you an idea, so I'm just going to grab my notes out in case I need them. White Rock is a population of about 20,000 people, just under. Whoops, sorry, I just banged the camera. It says like 19,300 and something people, and I couldn't find the date on the article to see. I'm assuming that's somewhere in the last couple of years. And it's kind of a newer community on the edge of Vancouver. We are 5 minutes away from the American border. And the beach area here spans for 8 kilometers. We're not going to walk around the whole beach, but we are going to walk along the beach and see some of the stuff, the community here, and it should be good. And will give me a minute here just to kind of catch my breath. If you have any questions about White Rock, White Rock is very close to in the same vicinity as like Elizabeth, Hago's been a little bit iffy today. Is everyone else that's here, is the connection okay? I tried to send a message out, but I was running late, and it took me 6 tries because it kept freezing when I was sending out the message to my followers. So it's just a little bit crazy. I think my guess on what's happening, I'm not an IT person by any means, but a lot of people are squishing in their last tours while we still have like a week left of Hago or less than that now. And so I'm started to wonder if maybe there might be a bit of trouble with so many people using it all at once. So hang tight. Maybe if you're having issues, go back out, come back in. I'm not sure. Like I said, in a minute, we're going to get going for our little walk, and I will show you how adorable this little coffee shop is. So, as I was saying before, the other day, last week, we were in Richmond, and it kind of, as you move east from Richmond, there's like Richmond, and there's like Delta, and then like White Rock, Surrey area. And it's all very close to the border. And we were on my Fort Langley tour. Everything's kind of coming together full circle at the end here. The Fort Langley tour, we talked about how um, there's a Vancouver, Washington in the States, and it's right across the river from Portland. And so a long time ago, there was a whole big thing about um, they were creating Fort Langley because they needed to have an option in case Vancouver, Washington didn't become part of British North America or like Canada. And so if it didn't, then they needed like Fort Langley for the ports and all of that kind of stuff. But if they didn't, and Vancouver, Washington was part of, I guess, Canada, then they didn't really need Fort Langley. They were just going to make it into a city. So here we are. And same thing is that White Rock kind of came about after that whole, not debacle or fiasco, but like that whole season where they were trying to figure out what they were going to do, where the border was going to be, 49th parallel, all that cool stuff. So here we are in White Rock, and we're on the beach, and it is more known for its trains. And so I was reading, and it kind of made me giggle because it was saying that there was a train station built, I feel like it was something like 1914 or maybe earlier than that. I might be getting my number dates confused. And one of the great things about the train out here is it connected all the tourists from Vancouver and New Westminster to come all the way out here. And so that kind of made me giggle because then I've talked before when I've done coffee shops and history walks in New Westminster, I talked about how New Westminster was the first city in BC. And they were talking, I went to a museum once and there was all these cool little pictures of like the streetcars, and they had the first streetcars that started to run between Vancouver and New Westminster, and how it was a really big deal that people were now able to take the streetcar from this main city of British Columbia, New Westminster, all the way into downtown Vancouver. And then years and years later, Vancouver became the big city. And then now it's like more of a thing to kind of like, oh, let's take a trip out to New Westminster for the day. So it's kind of funny how things come full circle in history. And that's one of the things as I learn more and more about it that fascinates me is everything kind of starts to come together in one big story. So we're going to go take a quick look around how cute this spot is. I'm going to put my hat back on so we can head outside and do my jacket up. We've got, the weather is about 8 degrees Celsius here, which means, oh, this is a shaky table. I'm so sorry. Which means that it's about 53, I think, degrees Fahrenheit, if I've got my numbers right. I apologize. I'm feeling a little scattered today just because everything has been such a rush in getting out here and running around. And the cafe didn't have a washroom. And so then they're like, oh, it's down the block. So then we go down the block, and the public washroom has gates and they're locked. So I couldn't get into the public washroom. And after 2 hours on a bus, so I came back and they graciously let me use the washroom here. So that's why I was late starting. My bus got a little bit crazy and things were running behind, and it doesn't matter because I'm here now. We're going to go for a walk. First of all, I'm going to put on my backpack. Then I'm going to show you how you don't need to see me put on my backpack. So let's see if I can find you guys a cute little view to look at for just a moment while I do this. My backpack is not a cute view. And not what I want to do. Sorry. There we go. Now you can kind of see it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to show you how cute this place is. It's kind of a gray day. I was hoping usually you guys bring me good luck and blue skies, but not today. So look at the wallpaper. It has those little, I don't know what you call it. I'm going to say like kind of an Indian, East Indian artwork. I love these little elephants. They're so cute. And here we go. So a little look around the whole place. Very cute. We've got some wicker chairs. We got some more Victorian looking chairs. And a nice little lanterns. I think this would be a great place to come for like an afternoon tea, right? Trying not to get the people in. Look at the chandeliers we have here. It's just so cute. And then I'll take you through here and show you our lovely pastry case. How yummy. And just very cute. Very cute in here. Alright, we are going to head outside. If you want to see the menus, that's kind of what our menus look like today. It has a very distinct beachy feel, and that's got the address, 15782 Marine Drive. And I love the little chandeliers. It's just so cute. Oh, just gonna head outside. And there's a little elephant again. I love elephants. One of my funny little stories is in my family growing up. I don't know about maybe yours did the same kind of thing, but we all had. Just gonna flip this long ways for a sec. There you go. In my family growing up, we all had things we kind of loved and collected. And my mom collected penguins, and turning it back around, I collected cows, and my mom's pen pal that she'd had since she was 7 years old. And we're talking, this is now probably when I was about 15. So my mom had a oh, Karina, that's a very pretty way of spelling a name. I hope I said it right. So my mom's pen pal came over from Scotland every couple of years, and we take her out and we go do things with her. We were up in Jasper this one time, up in like, I don't know if Jasper's clarified as like being in BC or Alberta, but it's in the Rocky Mountains. And whatever made me trigger and just say, hey, Auntie Muriel, because we called her Auntie, what do you collect? Like, I never see you buy anything. So what do you collect? What kind of animal do you collect? And she goes, oh, I don't really do that. And I said, oh, okay. So mom collects penguins, I collect cows, and my brother Colin collected seahorses, and well, my brother Alan was just kind of a disaster in a good way. Here we go, showing you the streets here. People who aren't used to tourists, I guess. Not sure what to do. Yes, I'm standing at the edge, but I'm holding a camera, people. So here we are on Marine Drive in White Rock. And so anyways, I said to Auntie Muriel, like, when you collect, you must collect something. Everybody collects something. And she said, well, I suppose if I had to collect something, And here we are. This is actually the railroad right there by the beach. Um, we are in White Rock, my friends. White Rock. I do have a Facebook group and I have a YouTube channel, and they are both under the name Girl on a Bus Adventures. So that's Girl on a Bus Adventures. My Facebook group and my Instagram are well established. YouTube was started 6 months ago, but I haven't really done anything with it until Hago announced it was closing. Um, so, um, so anyways, my Aunt Muriel was like, well, I suppose if I had to collect something, I would collect elephants. And I don't remember if or why, or whether I did ask her and whether she answered, or whether my little 10-year-old self or whatever it was even concepted because nowadays I would have been like, oh, and what made you choose elephants, right? But when you're younger, you're a little bit more self-involved. Here is, I believe, where they must have some live performances of something, because there is a little stage back there. It's not as pretty out today. So at that point, she started collecting elephants. What else is she going to do? I made her do it, basically. So now every time I see an elephant, I think of her. And unfortunately, we lost Auntie Muriel back in 2006. She passed away from complications to her cancer. And so now it's even more meaningful, because when I see elephants, it makes me think that she's kind of there watching out over me, kind of fun little way to think about her. And I do have some lovely little elephant statues that she gave me over the years to think of her. And she'd come and they'd go on vacations together with my parents. And she'd buy me a cow. And then when she was coming over, she'd bring me an elephant from her latest escapades. She was a great traveler. So when she came over, we usually either headed south down towards California, Oregon, Washington, or we'd travel around the province. So I'm one of those very fortunate people who was not only born and raised in BC, British Columbia, but also has seen much of the province. So we were out at Gary Point Park a couple of days ago with the cherry blossoms, and I was talking about how it's a very popular kite park. And to be honest, I didn't even know that kites were still a thing. Like, I didn't know people still bought kites and flew them and whatever. I haven't. I guess because I'm not like super nature girl. Um, my idea of being out in nature is either I'm walking with a coffee or I'm sitting on a sidewalk cafe. And look at that, true to form, guys. You brought me blue skies. How cool. All right. So in out here in White Rock, there are some parts of it that are very, very, very old. And then there are some parts that are very, very, very new. And I have not been out here in, thank you. I'll just take a little moment, because all of the guides for all of us, it's a bit of a learning curve. So every time I subscribe to another guide's YouTube, I obviously hit the subscribe button. I watch a video try to find a short video, like a 5-minute video, and just put it on when I'm doing something. Um, and then I like the video and I drop a comment. And apparently that's the magic combination um, for working towards like monetization and all of those things. So we super appreciate every single one of you that are subscribing to our channels and helping us out. But if you could do those, I guess it's 4 things. So subscribe to the channel while you're there, watch a quick video if you can, or circle back later, and then hit the like and make a comment, because apparently some of them are losing subscribers because everybody's inundating YouTube all of a sudden, and they're thinking it's all these bots when it's actually all of you. Click on bell to be notified. I knew. There we go. There's 5 things. Sam, thank you so much. How cool is this little hotel? This is obviously one from, I'm going to say it looks very mid-century modern, don't you think? And I love the old mid-century modern fonts and stuff, like where it says ocean there, to the left of promenade. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So again, for those of you, I did come on a little bit late today, and I'm sorry. It just was a longer commute than I realized. I gave myself 2 hours, but that wasn't quite enough time. So we are 45 kilometers away from Vancouver, and we are extremely close to its railroad tracks. Now, for those of you who've been on my tours before, you know I have a history of working with Rocky Mountaineer, which is the world-class luxury train. And up until, I want to say, when did I started there in 2016? So around 2018, I think, was when we had our last train that went back and forth to pick up passengers from Seattle that were coming off the cruise ships, and then they could hop on board a little short journey up to Vancouver, which often turned into a longer one. I'll explain in a second. And so they could go either from Vancouver down to Seattle to catch their boat on the train, which went once a week on Saturdays. And the train would come through here. And everybody knows when you get to White Rock, everybody waves to the train from the beach, and it's so fun. And the destination host or the hosts on board always point out anything they see, anybody of particular note. There's a particular house out here somewhere. I don't remember where it is, like a Barbie house that's pink or something. And everybody's always, they know when the train's coming through. So they're all there to like wave. And then I think there was one lady, was it here? Somewhere that was always out there waving to the train. And they actually surprised her with a trip on the train. And so that was pretty amazing. They one day or just showed up at their house and was like, hey, you wave to the train every time we go by. How would you like to have a complimentary trip on the train? And she was so thrilled. I love it when companies do things like that and recognize their regulars. Even in this case, it wasn't a customer. It was just somebody very dedicated. So here we are. There's lots of little pockets of shops and things along here. And it's funny because on my Facebook, I'm friends with some very dear customers of mine from when I worked at Build-A-Bear Workshop. And it was so cool because I worked there for 10 years and I saw kids grow up, like literally in front of my eyes. They would come in every year on their birthday and make a bear. And one of the families lives out here in White Rock. And the mom came on and she's like, it says you're going to be in White Rock at a coffee shop. Not a lot of great coffee shops out here. What did you find? Kind of checking up on me. And I was like, oh, I found this really cute spot called Veranda Cafe. She's like, yeah, okay, you're good. That's a good spot. But it gets very warm here in the summer and cool in the winter. And you can see we've got Angel's ice cream. We have a tattoo shop a little bit further back. And then we have another one next to the psychic spot of another ice cream shop. And all the coffee shops are like coffee and ice cream. I mean, aren't those the two most important things in life, anyways? Coffee and ice cream. And I wore my winter coat and I probably didn't need to. Oh, sorry. It's all about ice cream, coffee, and fish and chips out here. Yes. So I think we'll take a little walk and see where this little landing goes. See what we can see. There's definitely a lot of cute little spots here. New York hot dog and coffee across the street. I love it. And I'm a total coffee fiend. Always coffee. And in fact, the funniest thing, I don't even know if it's a thing, but when I was first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 3.5 years ago, the first thing everybody said was, don't let them tell you to stop drinking coffee. You got to have some good things in life. I was like, I don't really think that coffee has much to do with diabetes, but thanks. Thanks for thinking of me. Here we go. Here's some cool views. Again, it's kind of a little bit overcast that way, but it kind of gives you a feel for our little white rock here. So that's looking east unless I'm really turned around. Um, Here we are. This is very cool. We'll cross the tracks. After having worked at Rocky Mountaineer for so long, I get really nervous walking over train tracks because we're absolutely not allowed to do that. I mean, this is different because it's obviously an actual crosswalk, but we are we were not to ever just walk across a train track in the middle of nowhere. Which I mean is kind of, I guess, understandable, right? But we all think we're more um, intelligent than everybody else. And there we go. There's looking back. We've got our New York hot dogs. Um, oh, a sandwich and bar. There we go. Another ice cream spot. The food dish cafe. A fish spot and an ice cream spot. This could be like one of those games when my best friend and I did a road trip of the Blues Highway. Our big thing was counting how many Waffle Houses we encountered, and then our second favorite thing um, was pronouncing them because like so many of them had lights that were out in the sign, and so there was like Wiffle Houses and Waffle Hoses and Waffle Hus and Apple Hose and every every combination. It was hilarious. It was kind of one of the ways we entertained ourselves because we are ridiculous that way. And I'm super excited because we just started planning another road trip. Um, Usually they happen. She moved to Calgary and she's gonna be in town. Woohoo! In like a week and a half. I'm so excited to hang out with her. And I just threw an idea out at her. Just wanted to show you there's like mountains in the very, very, very far background. You can see that all right. Kind of, it's probably a little bit grainy, the picture, but I just wanted to kind of show you how beautiful it is out here. Um, so we've started kind of ha-ha planning, which means like we're kind of a little bit joking about it, but it's probably going to be serious because we've been talking about going to Nashville for quite a while. And we started the Blues Highway in Nashville. But I do things in 24-hour adventures. So we were only in Nashville for 24 hours. And she's like, I loved it. We had so much fun. This was so amazing. We have to go back. And I was like, you know what? I've now been to Nashville 4 times, but I will go back to Nashville with you. And then we were like, we just kind of, we'll often kind of like shop and talk. So like we'll be on the phone, but we'll be researching stuff and looking things up. And there's like a super cool Dolly Parton themed hotel in Nashville. So I don't care if we can only afford to stay there one night, we're doing it. So that's how this whole road trip started. And then I found a super cute Airbnb, no, VRBO that looks like a cross between a candy shop and an ice cream shop, but it's an actual house to stay in, and it's absolutely gorgeous in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So then I was being totally ridiculous, and I sent her a couple of text messages. I'm like, we're gonna do a country music road trip. So we can only go to country or only go to cities that have songs that are country music titles. And then I was like, so we want to go to the Grand Ole Opry, and you can do this whole VIP package for like $400 or something, including your ticket, and you get to hang out backstage and sit in the front row for the second half of the show, and you get, I don't know, passes and pictures and I don't know, drinks or something. So we want to do that. Um, and then we want to go to the CMT Awards because I found out the tickets are actually kind of, I mean, we just want to be there. We don't need front row seats. We can just sit in the bleacher type thing for like the $55 tickets just to be there. And this year it was in Austin. So I'm like, so here we go. It'll be like Nashville, Austin, and then Tulsa is like a straight shot up north from Austin. So there's that country song Austin, there's a country song Tulsa time, um, and then I don't know. There's the song title isn't doesn't have Nashville in it, but I can never remember. Doc Walker, a Canadian band, has a song called um, North Dakota Boy or something, and the lyrics in it are, "You can take me back to Nashville, but you'll have to take me back to Nashville dead," which is kind of like macabre. But I just quickly was like, "Here, we can go to this city. Here's a country song. We can go to this city." And she was like laughing. She's like, "I actually kind of really like this." Yes, I centered on the beautiful seagulls here. So my friends call them sky rats. And the water sure looks a different, it kind of has like kind of a greeny gray, mystical kind of look to it today. So out here in White Rock, um, this is, I think, Coast Salish tribe, also known as Semiahmoo. So going back to our indigenous roots, of course. And like I said, there's like 20,000 people that live out here, roughly. What is the temperature there? Um, when I looked it up this morning, it said it was going to be 8 degrees Celsius, which, if I'm right, is somewhere around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Um, when you spend a lot of time between New Orleans and Vancouver, I get really mixed up and I only understand hot weather in Fahrenheit and cold weather in Celsius. So I'm a little messed up. Um, and I still don't know when it's over 5. I have a hard time kind of deciphering what that means. So like it said it was 8. And I was like, is that like warm? Because I really need the higher numbers. Because I get like what 60 is and 70 is and 80 is. Um, but all those numbers between like 5 and 55 kind of confuse me. I do like this. I came down here years ago. To give you an idea, I think my nieces were 6 and 3, or like 7 and 4. Let's just go over the rocks here for a sec. And they are now 25 and 28. So we came down here and we on a early, not like super early, but like Saturday morning, and we did some family photos out here with all of the girls, with my sister, who is not their mother. They're from my brother. Um, my sister, here we go. Here's a cool little log. We had my sister, my nieces, my mother, and I, and my birth mom, my mother, is a professional photographer, so she did pictures of us girls all together. It's pretty cool. The sun is definitely trying to come out, you guys. I told you, you're my good luck charms. I love it. And we'll keep on walking along the water here for a nice peaceful walk. And then I'll show you what we've got going on the other side. Actually, I'm going to walk back for a second. Um, Sorry, my backpack is sliding off my shoulder. And after about 5 minutes, it starts to drive me absolutely bananas. So just indulge me here while there we go. Whew. It's a full moon tomorrow. I'm going to blame everything on the full moon for the rest of the day because I think it's going to be a doozy of a full moon. And I firmly believe that full moons alter people's state of being. And you can agree or disagree. And that's totally fine with me because we're all different. And if we were all the same, it would be a really boring world. But um, this is my tour. So I can talk about full moons and craziness. Um, There we go. Look at this cool. How beautiful. So think about this. Think about this. Let's pretend, okay, which one do we want to live in? Well, I would probably want to live in the little white mid-century modern building with the pink curtains because I like weird stuff and I bet it's got really cool built-ins and stuff on the inside. But for the sake of you guys, let's pretend we live in the turquoise um, building with 3 levels. The blue one, like the kind of lighter-ish, almost Tiffany blue one, that's the one I'm thinking of. So pretend we live there. I don't know if that's like all apartments or if some rich person's house and that's their whole thing. But let's go for that third level balcony, not the top roof one. The third level, we're sitting on the porch, and for me, it would be a coffee. For you, you might have a different drink. You might have a fluffy one. Maybe you got some sparkling water and a fruit plate. Maybe you got some sweets. Maybe you got a little bit of Bailey's in your coffee. And you're sitting there and you're kicking off your day. And imagine if this was your view. Now, it would be a little more spectacular if you could see all the islands and mountains and things a little bit better. But I mean, we've been on enough tours. We can, thank you, Ralph. We can kind of imagine what that would look like, right? Maybe when I swing back the other way here, I'm going to take you in up a little higher to see. So there we go. That's as far as we can see to the left. All that view. And going back again. Like it's just gorgeous out here. So then if you could just, get your day started. Maybe you got a project you're working on. Maybe you're reading a book. And maybe you're just contemplating life and you come down here for a little walk. Maybe you're a tourist. Maybe that's your VRBO or your Airbnb. And you're just hanging out, having a little retreat here in the greater Vancouver area. I tell you, I live in such a beautiful city, and I love that I'm taking you guys on all these excursions into different outer areas of Vancouver now that I've done a lot of Vancouver and I'm ready to branch out. Um, I haven't quite decided where we're going next Wednesday yet. It's going to be one of those last minute ones, I think. I got a few ideas mulling around in my head. We might actually go back into Vancouver There's kind of a crazy little bakery that I think might get a good giggle out of everybody. Um, we'll see. We'll see. But I do love taking you guys to these really cool places that are, if you ever came to Vancouver, I know some of us live on the outskirts of Vancouver, and maybe you're looking for some ideas of different places and things to do, little day trips and excursions. Ah, yes, this is part of the BNSF Railway. Oh, when something, San, is it Santa Fe Railway? Ah, I looked it up. My brain has let it escape me for the moment. But this is the railway line right here that they were talking about with all the tourists coming from Vancouver and New Westminster. And I was like, they took a train out here? I was coming back from Seattle one time on the Amtrak because this is the path that the Amtrak runs on. And it was a source of contention for Rocky Mountaineer because we had to get out of Seattle at a very specific time. Because if we didn't, we would get held back behind the Amtrak train, and they have to stop at the border and have U.S. or Canadian Customs come on the train and check everybody into the country, whereas our guests got checked into Canada when they arrived at the Greyhound slash train station for Via Rail in Vancouver. And so if we didn't get out before the Amtrak, then we were hooped because we would have to wait. And if they had issues with any of their passengers, then we just had to sit and wait for them to all get cleared. So that was kind of a little bit of a thing where if we loaded late, our conductor would just fly out of Seattle and you had to be sitting down, then there was going to be some issues. All right. I don't know if you just heard that. My headphones are saying battery low. Not a problem. I'm just going to switch them out. So let me give you a lovely little ocean view for a moment, and I'll get my earphones all switched out for you guys, and then we shall carry on. I was so smart. Well, that's debatable. I feel like I'm so smart because when people asked me what I wanted for my birthday this year, I said things like extra wireless earphones and an extra big power bank that has 21 hours of whatever. So I'm just going to go silent for a sec while I switch over. It might give some funny messages. Next one's in. Business. So I got a big new powerful bank, power bank for all my stuff for tours and extra earphones. So Co is a very happy tour guide right now because I was like scrambling sometimes when I was in New Orleans, like having enough battery power because you always think, oh yeah, I'll go back for the day, back to my accommodations. And then I didn't make it back to my accommodations. I couldn't charge things up and I was sucking all the battery out of the gimbal and got myself in one or two precarious situations in bad weather at like midnight and, a little bit of silliness. That's what I'm all about. So, that's kind of whatever. Yes. So back to White Rock. What else can I tell you about? Oh, they used to do this really, really big sandcastle competition. And there would be prizes of up to like, something like 20 or $30,000 for the winners. And it would draw like 150,000 people
out here to the beaches for this sandcastle competition in August for years and years and years. And then it became a bit of an issue with security and how our worlds evolved and things like that. So they canceled the competition after like, I don't know, 40 or 50 years. And I can remember being really little and hearing the talk on the radio, sandcastle competition coming up in White Rock. Very big. Just like the Hayak Festival in New Westminster every summer as well, or like the Caribbean Days at Waterfront Park, or all those kind of events. We've had some really good, cool events here in the Vancouver area. And then they started a Tour de White Rock bike race, and people would come internationally for that as well. That kind of surprised me. I was like, oh, okay. I guess because it's partly, I'm like, well, how do you travel with a bike? But I think there are travel bikes that can kind of fold up and fit on a plane. I mean, obviously, you're not taking them on as carry-on luggage, but yeah, they have their tour de force, and then the rest of the attraction for White Rock is honestly just the beach. And they've built up a community. They've headed north. Um, there's a whole string of like shops, your usual everyday. I was actually coming on the bus down here, and I was like, oh, hang on, there's a Popeye's chicken here. Well, I know where I'm having my dinner before I leave and head back to Vancouver. Popeye's it is. And I think we're somewhere close to a Krispy Kreme donut. Now you're probably like, wait a minute, 20 minutes ago you were talking about having type 2 diabetes. I'm very, very particular with how I eat, but I also am very particular about allowing myself to have treats now and then, as long as I stay good the rest of the time. So, I mean, what's the point of life if you don't enjoy it, right? We don't need to do it in excess. We just need to do it in a way that makes us feel good and happy and healthy and safe. Looks like there's clouds covering the sun at the moment. I'm going to stop for a little minute. I don't know if we can see this or not through the camera. I don't know if it translates. Thank you, Ralph. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and see. I'm going to go one more. It might make it grainy, but we'll see if it kind of. All right, see, the kind of bright lights is just really what I wanted to show you. I guess it's just the sun shining differently on the water, breaking through the crowds. Breaking through the clouds is what I'm trying to say. And I just think it looks kind of cool the way it is out at the water there. To those of you who've just joined in, we are out at the famous and beautiful White Rock Beach. And I was looking up, I love doing research about places. So I have all kinds of different things I Google and search and whatnot to kind of find my info. And I'm always looking for fun facts, which we'll be able to talk about our fun facts in just a moment. And it was like, what is White Rock known for? And part of it was like the White Rock. I'm like, okay. And sandcastle competition that no longer exists. So I'm like, you could do a whole thing. Like, you go to a city, what's the food that you eat? What's the thing you do? And all of that. I'm like, I don't think we're giving White Rock enough credit. And I'm like, what would I say about White Rock? What is White Rock known for? The beach, fish and chips, and ice cream. Um, if any of you were on my Fort Langley tour 2 weeks, was that 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? No, it's 2 weeks ago, right? So, my tour that I did for Coffee Shops and History Walks, which is like, I love this series. The nice thing about it is as we move forward, at first I'll definitely be doing Facebook Lives till I get all this YouTube stuff figured out. But I'll be able to say like Coffee Shops and History Walks dash White Rock dash Fort Langley dash Port Moody dash Capitol Heights or Seattle or New Orleans or Atlanta or whatever. So I'm super excited, especially the ice cream. Super excited because it was really tedious for me with Hago to be constantly having to write new write-ups and post things because it was a bit of a process to it. And I'm not like super great with technology. And so I always had to get them to add a photo. So it would take me like 2 or 3 days to get a write-up done and complete and into the draft form. So I'm super excited that I can just be like, live tour coming up. Here it is. This is what it's about. So, might have just lost my train of thought there. Silly me. Look at all these lovely Easter flowers, daffodils. Um, so anyways, I just have fun looking things up and I'm always trying to find interesting facts. Oh yes, Fort Langley. That's where I was going with this. Oh my goodness. See, I said I'm a little bit loopy today. And so when we went to the one in Fort Langley, we started off at a coffee shop called Republica. And Fort Langley has as many coffee shops as it does antique shops and restaurants. So picking a really good coffee shop was actually a little bit hard. I'm not going to lie in Fort Langley because they were all so cool. But again, in bringing things full circle, um, we started at Republica in Fort Langley. And one of the reasons I chose them is because Republica actually roasts coffee and most of the coffee shops in Fort Langley use the Republica coffee. Well, guess what? The Veranda Cafe where we started today uses Republica coffee. I'm going to just sit for a little minute here. And I just thought that was so cool. So when I was trying to pick a place to go to today, I had it down to a choice of two coffee shops. One was called Laura's Cafe and the other one was the Veranda Cafe. And if you followed me long enough, then, oh, let's not have a picture of a garbage can. You've probably kind of noticed that like when I do these coffee shops and history walks, we're not going to Starbucks. We're not going to like the local chain of like Waves or even JJ Bean, although I will do one at JJ Bean one day when the one I love reopens. I go to cool little places. I go to off the beaten path. I go to places that are cute and charming. And so I like scour all the different coffee shops. And I wanted to do one close to the pier here. And so I'm like looking at all these photos and I wait until one kind of like, you get that vibe and you're like, yeah, this is it. This is it. So I had it down to Laura's and Veranda and I was like, I just don't know. I just don't know. So I started to read about Veranda Cafe and I was like, this is it. This is so it. I'll just finish the story and then we'll go do the White Rock thing. So Veranda uses the Republica coffee. The lady who owns it had always dreamt of having her own coffee shop. And she grew up in India and her dad was in the military. And so she grew up all around India and had all these different foods and things. And so her cafe actually serves a little bit of fusion, Indian, local cuisine, It's all meant to be very quirky. So if you remember, it had the chandeliers on the ceiling and kind of like beachy bamboo rattan chairs and stuff. A little bit of a mixture of Victorian things and the beautiful Indian art art on the wall with the green background and the gold elephants and everything. And I just thought, how cool is it that they serve Republica coffee? We were at Republica 2 weeks ago. This is the kind of stuff I love. I love kind of experiences and then bringing all the experiences together and being able to tie everything in. And now we're going to talk for a second about White Rock and why it's called White Rock. It is because, look, right ahead of you, what is that? That is a white rock. So, funny story about this White Rock. Um, it used to be a spot where all the birds hung out, and the birds would eat the shellfish. And when you eat, what happens? Food comes in, food goes out. They had the funniest term. It was like guano or something like that, where they were like, so the birds would all like eat shellfish and hang out on the rock, and then the guano turns the rock white. Basically, the seagull poop makes the rock white. And so that's it's called White Rock. And what I found out is the city employees or the city parks employees of White Rock or Surrey or whatever the jurisdiction is here actually come out here once a month and paint it white so it stays white. And back around 1920, they actually, because long before there was a pier here, they used to actually use this as a beacon for the ships coming by, and they would know where the land is because of the white rock. So here we go. We'll try and get a little better in the picture, maybe more of the pier, also on a hill, so I don't want to roll an ankle. That would be something I would do to finish off my day. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit here, back to normal 1.0 if my phone will let me do it. There we go. So here we've got a little bit of the rock and the pier in the background and land. Kind of do some edgy artwork photos here. Kind of cool. And then we'll get it disappear on the right side. And we'll continue our walk along in a little minute. And we'll get it with it behind us too. There we go. Our white rock for White Rock. And I've been out here a few times, but I don't think I've actually seen the White Rock. This might be a first for me. I like the sound of crunchy gravel. Hopefully that's not too irritating for you. I think we can all handle a minute of crunchy gravel, just not hours of it. And we'll get a picture of it. So cute down here. So yes, we are out in White Rock. Oh yes, and it's a very popular spot for graffiti. So I guess that's another reason why they have to come out and paint it. If it's anything like Vancouver, um, the grads probably do some kind of prank with this White Rock. Although, when I was reading, I don't think they actually have high schools in White Rock. I think they're all basically in Surrey. Oh, there you go. The picture with a little bit of blue sky. Yay! I'm going to try and get a bit more of the scenery from a different angle for you. So yeah, they have elementary schools out here. Although, again, like they don't always say when the articles were written. That's kind of a cool picture right there. Somebody take a picture and send me that. Because I can't take pictures right now. I love that with the blue sky and the white rock and the beach and whew. So we'll leave it for a couple of seconds and then move on. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to figure out when they're giving stats. Sometimes it's hard to figure out just how current the stats actually are. That's why I say when it says there's like 19,399 people that live in White Rock, I'm like, you know what? 20,000 sounds good. And then I was like, 19,000. And I remembered years ago, I met a boy when I was in Nashville. And then I went to go hang out with him in his hometown of Ottumwa, Iowa. And guess how many people lived in Ottumwa, Iowa? 19,000 people. And the boy was this totally cool cowboy looking dude. And he was the general manager of the only Burger King in Ottumwa, Iowa. And this was back in the early 90s. And so everybody knew him because he was a general manager. I also think people knew him because he was quite an outgoing and friendly sort. And I got to town and it was the weirdest thing. Like I was just starting to really travel more at that point and trying to think of where I'd been to Toronto on my own. I'd been to Seattle with a, girlfriend's weekend away, but I hadn't, and obviously I'd gone to Nashville because that's where I met him, but I hadn't really, I'd always gone to cities. And this was a tiny, hey, Tika, we're out at White Rock hanging out. I'm telling silly stories. So anyways, I met this dude. He's a general manager of the only Burger King in a town of 19,000 people. And you know what? When I got to town, I want to say everybody knew me. They didn't, but a lot of people knew me. I stuck out like a sore thumb and I'd go places and they'd be like, are you the girl from Canada? And I'm not going to lie. I really, really, really enjoyed the attention. And we went into, I don't know if any of you watched that TV show, the Roseanne show, not like the Connors one of current day, but like the original Roseanne show. Well, remember when they opened that loose meat diner? Well, the original one is in Ottumwa, Iowa. And so my very first meal, Todd took me to this loose meat diner and we opened the door and walk in and all conversations stopped. And there was these two darling older ladies at the counter and they all kind of both looked at each other and they're like, that's her, that's her, that's a girl from Canada. And I was laughing. And I feel like that was kind of like maybe my first local celebrity moment where, I mean, people didn't recognize me because they'd never seen me before, but they knew there was a stranger in town. And then I was like, wait a minute, if they all know I'm here, then he's been talking about me coming here. And then that made me feel even better. So yeah, there we go. Another little silly personal story from the life of Co or Adventures of Co. And I know maybe some of you have other things that you need to do. I know, right? So beautiful. And if you have another tour and you need to leave, I get it. If you have a moment to tip me, if you've enjoyed this, just send a tip my way. If you want to just leave a review, tell them how beautiful it was. Again, I apologize. I made it late today, but that was just a whole combination of transportation, everything. I did try to let people know, so I apologize. Please don't hold that against me. We are going to go out onto the pier. And so for those of you who have just joined in, you've got a few minutes more with me here. And we're just going to enjoy a little walk out on the pier. You're welcome, Chica. I know, it's very beautiful. Sounds like we got a little bit of, this reminds me of New Orleans. Right down on the riverfront in New Orleans, you'll often have somebody playing an instrument down there. Oh, it's usually not like a fiddle or a violin. Here we go. White Rock, BC, Canada, Canada's longest pier. Yeah, Tika, we've got good weather out here. I would come out here. Just be ready for a long bus ride and pay really close attention to your directions. I was saying earlier to those who came out, um, gosh, this is just so cute. This would be really nice at sunset. I also think it would probably be very busy. Um, I would say if people were like, what do you go to White Rock, BC for? I'm like, fish and chips, ice cream, coffee. So I think this would just be a cool place to go. And depending on your, uh, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Friends of mine had a band named it. Guilty pleasure. There we go. Um, guilty pleasure. So like indulge in an ice cream and come and walk along the pier, or maybe like an iced coffee if it's a warm day. Oh my gosh. Okay. I got to show you this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, see if we can capture this. But there are, oh my gosh, snow covered mountains, and it's beautiful. So beautiful. Let's see here. Try to get it in the balance. There we go. Kind of in the middle of the screen. So the beach, the sand. I wonder if that's like Baker. I want to say that's Mount Baker, but I could be wrong because I'm a little bit off. Aw, thank you, Tika. Of knowing my geography at the moment, I get turned around really easily. I had to laugh because I had a friend of mine coming into town from Nashville, and I borrowed my parents' car. This is again back in the 90s. And drove out to pick her up, had permission to use the car for the evening, picked her up from the airport, dropped her off at her accommodations, her hotel, and then we went out and I took her to Granville Island um, to hear my friend's band play. Guilty Pleasures, actually, was the band that was playing. And we stopped at the Red Onion for hot dogs and stuff. But I got completely turned around when we left the airport. And my friend Carolyn was like, oh, no problem. I've got us. Like, da 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 da. This is where we go. And I looked at her. I was like, have you been to Vancouver before? And she's like, nope, never been to Vancouver before. I'm like, how on earth do you know where we are? And she's like, I am really, really good with directions and things like that. And I was looked at her and I was like, I am really, really not good with directions. So that was one of my most favorite moments of hanging out with my friend Carolyn. She and I met because I had called the record label she worked at in Nashville. I was never afraid to call anybody, ask for favors, do things, whatever. And so I was trying to figure out, Garth Brooks was doing a press conference in Vancouver, and I don't know, trying to figure out where it was or whatever. And so I just was ballsy enough to call the record label, and I ended up talking to the executive assistant of the president of Capitol Records. And oh, I just got another little notification. I think that means my phone battery is low, but that's okay because I have my cables right where I can grab it. So anyways, I end up talking to her and she's like, where did you say you were from? And I'm like, I'm from Vancouver. And she's like, Vancouver, like Vancouver, Canada? And I said, yes, I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And she's like, oh my gosh. She goes, I'm going to be in Vancouver, Canada in like 6 weeks for a TV show convention. Can we like hang out? I was like, girl, I'll pick you up at the airport. She had already just said, like, I'm going to send you all this stuff from our label. What's your address? She sent me 2 boxes of like CDs and videos and whatnot of all the Capitol Record country music artists about 3 weeks later. Sorry, my gimbal might get a little cranky for a minute while I'm trying to plug this in because I think my phone's about to go dark. Here we go. So yeah, so I ended up hanging out with her in Vancouver. And then I was like, well, funny thing, I'm actually going to be in Nashville like 6 weeks after you're in Vancouver. And she was like, girl, I'm going to pick you up from the airport. Oh, there we go. 12% battery. Whew, good call. And she's like, girl, I'm going to pick you up from the airport and you'll come hang out with me for the first night you're in town. And that was pretty cool. So that was beginning of an accidental, beautiful friendship. And she's back in Boston now. And we are still friends like 20, no, 30 years later. Oh my gosh, time just flies. All right. If you have any questions, maybe you're one of the ones who came on late, want to know anything about White Rock besides what you may have caught, named White Rock after the big giant white rock. And most of it started out down here along the beach. We had the train tracks, and I used to travel back and forth sometimes on the train on Rocky Mountaineer going between Seattle and Vancouver. They would sometimes have me go down and help on the train going down and check on all the destination hosts and kind of do their brand management for them down in Seattle. And I would get the pleasure of being on the train for the day. And it was quite, only did that a couple of times. But again, like so grateful for the time I had at Rocky Mountaineer. And I learned, I wouldn't say I learned my storytelling. I honed my storytelling craft from there, learned a lot about my city. And I think if I hadn't have worked at Rocky Mountaineer, I wouldn't be tour guiding today, to be honest. All right, if you're just joining in, we are in White Rock. And we have this pretty promenade that we're just walking out along. And we were able to pull things full circle. So we started off at the Veranda Cafe today. So if you came on recently, you would have missed the Veranda Cafe. So you can certainly look it up. It's a cute little spot. Actually, Tika, if you're still here, you would really like the Veranda Cafe. It's really cute. It's a little bit quirky. There's like chandeliers at the tables, but the chairs are kind of almost like patio furniture if you had a table and chairs on the patio, kind of that like rattan bamboo look, but some of them have a more Victorian look to them. And then there's just like some really cool wall coverings. And the coffee they serve is from Republica. And if you were on my tour in Fort Langley a couple of weeks ago, we started the tour there at Republica, which is a roastery and coffee shop, super cool coffee shop, right in Fort Langley there. And so it was kind of cool to come out to Veranda Cafe, and they serve the Republica coffee. So everything comes around full circle. I think if I have my bearings right, I'm wondering, not sure if that's, you can go to Point Roberts. No, Point Roberts is from like the Houston area, I think. I think that's more like maybe Birch Bay that way. Here we are. I'm gonna turn around in a second. I'll show you how far we have walked today. This is good. I'm getting a good walk in today. That's the other thing I love about being a tour guide is it gets me out walking and exploring. Talking about how what is there to do in White Rock? Well, fish and chips, ice cream, coffee. They have ice cream shops out here. Like Vancouver has coffee shops, man. It might be kind of dangerous to come out here. You might want to have an ice cream from every single shop. So here we go. This is how far we have come, my friends. Here we go. Beautiful city of White Rock, little rail town. I was saying earlier too that that was one of the things that made me giggle about White Rock is they were talking about how when they had the train out here finally, it was great for the tourists from the from Vancouver, New Westminster, to come all the way out here on the train. And so I'm very visual. So I was trying to like think back in time to like, so they used to come out on the train to come out here because like I hopped on the train, but I'm talking about the Sky Train for part of it, and then I took 2 buses from the Sky Train. So I was like, I wonder what it was like to live back then, and travel around the city of Vancouver by an actual train, like to get to the outskirts. And then I thought that was kind of a little bit crazy. Again, a little more blue sky happening again. What a cool, I'm gonna wait for these people to go by. I'm okay with getting people from their backside, but I don't want to get strangers from the front. Not everybody wants to be a star in my videos. And there we go. A nice little promenade. And then I'm just going to continue out to the just to the end of the promenade here. And when we get out to the end, we're gonna part ways for today, my beautiful friends. So a couple of minutes more. So if you have any questions, please ask away. Trying to think of what some of the other things were that I talked about. We have a population of 20,000. Community started out all down here. And then I think somewhere around the 70s, it started to develop more. And then as housing got more expensive in Vancouver, 80s, 90s, the development started more up here. And as I was saying to the group, I was on my way down here. I took the bus, obviously, and went through what I kind of think is like the downtown of North White Rock. And I'm like looking around. I love traveling by city buses around and everything. And I'm like, oh, look, there's a pop-up fried chicken. Dinner before I head home. So I'm like, it is definitely gentrified here in White Rock. If they've got a Popeyes, I'm like, now I just need to find a Krispy Kreme donut that looks good. Oh, I'm silly. I own it. Life is too short to be serious. You got to enjoy it. This is one of the old Facebook memes about like not wanting to die gracefully. I want to slide into home plate or something at the end. That'll be me. That'll definitely be me. Alright, I'm finished my coffee. They brewed it right. It tastes like Republica. Of course, we are out in the ocean here. We are close to the U.S., so we've got our Canadian flags out here as well. It is a very long pier. So if you look up on Google where Veranda Coffee is and where we are right now, I've had a good walk today, which I love. It means I can be lazy for the rest of the day if I want. It means I've earned my fried chicken. Ooh, I'm already like fried chicken and a biscuit. I can't wait. Oh, we've got people fishing. And then, of course, back where we first started the walk by Veranda Coffee, we had people flying kites. So that was pretty cool. There we go, our little Canadian flag flying proudly. Now I look at the time and it says I've been on here for an hour and 33 minutes, but I know I was here late because I had all these crazy issues with connections and buses and washrooms and silliness. But this is like the magnitude of the tours I did when I was in New Orleans, because I just couldn't help myself. I just want to show you guys everything about New Orleans. We're going to go right out to the very end of the pier today. Crab fishing in Semiahmoo. So we are on, here it says, by the 1920s, White Rock boasted a crab processing factory that closed after only a few years. Okay. In the 1950s, White Rock crab fishermen Walter Supran and Ed Kendall leased land on the Semiahmoo First Nation Reserve right at the mouth of the Little Campbell River for nearly 20 years. They each built a crab shed as a base for their independent operations and used the space for boat mooring, preparing crab traps and equipment, and facilitating day-to-day operations. Very cool. We're going to go right to the far corner here. There we go. Look at that. Now, let me see. Sorry, it's a little bit, it's windy. As happens with my tours, we have wind today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, see if we can catch that mountain range a little bit to the right of the flagpole in the picture. A little bit, kind of. We got some blue sky, waving flags, some rocks, some beach, some water. I feel like that's pretty good. And again, just to give you a perspective, I'm going to come out a little bit and then show you how far we are. This is how far we walked today. We had a good little walk. Now, Veranda Coffee is, see if I can figure this out. I think the middle of your screen right now is basically where Veranda Coffee is. So that's how far we came today. All right, I'm going to flip this around. Oh, thank you, Ralph. All right, here we go. There we are. Look at that. Here we are in beautiful White Rock. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I hope you had some fun, learned a few things, saw some beautiful sights. I hope I was able to, give you a little bit of that magic that I love, make an experience out of it, tell you some silly, fun stories, have some fun. What's coming up next? Yeah. Um, I'm planning to do a tour or two on Monday. So keep watching. It'll be the last one I do on Hago, but not my last tour by any means. So I am going to start with Facebook Live, maybe even some Instagram Live. Aw, thank you, Joe. Um, so, what was I saying? Yeah, I'm going to transfer over to Facebook right away for sure. I have an Instagram account. If you look for Girl on a Bus Adventures, that's Girl on a Bus Adventures. You can find me on Instagram. You can find my private group, or like, not private, my group on Facebook. And I post stuff like travel tips, song of the day on Mondays, ideas about places to travel. And that's where I'll be doing my tours first off. I do have a YouTube channel. I started it like 6 months ago. I kind of just started it but did nothing with it. So forgive me for there's some videos and stuff up there now, like countdowns to how many sleeps till I go to New Orleans and talking about New Orleans and traveling and packing a suitcase and stuff. But I haven't really focused on the YouTube. So if you go ahead and go over there to subscribe to help me out, one, I love you for that. Two, don't judge me. I had to kind of make sure everything was thrown together last Friday when we all got the news. But I've also had a lot of other things to scramble and do to get ready for, doing everything on another platform or somewhere else. So, like I said, and then there's been a lot of information going around, and a lot of stuff talking about like people getting unsubscribed. So, speaking on behalf of all of the guides, do 5 things for us if you can. One is find our YouTube channel, subscribe to it. While you're there, find a short video, like a 5-minute video or like a video, and watch it for 5 minutes. Hit the like button, okay? Do the like button, make a comment, and then hit the notification as well. Those are the 5 things you need to do. So subscribe, notification, like, watch for 5 minutes at least, and comment. The longer you can watch a video, the better. I think um, I'm not in a rush, but if you're doing all this stuff now, I would love it if you just take a little moment, go find Girl on the Bus Adventures, and do those things for all of us, all the guides. We totally, truly appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. And don't worry, I'm going to carry on with my coffee shop and history walk series. Um, and when I do them with the Facebook Live, someone else reminded me on the tour today about the notification. So I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I forget about that one all the time. So yeah, I always do the memory trick. So there's 5 things you got to do for the YouTube, and that should help you remember. So yeah, so I'll be doing Facebook Live. So I'll be able to say like coffee shop and history walk, city of Port Moody, or like Vancouver, or Mount Pleasant neighborhood, or Seattle, or Atlanta, or wherever I happen to be. I do have a trip coming up to Atlanta in June. So, I've got 3 tours planned already for there. It's going to be amazing. If you're just joining in now, we're actually just wrapping up. So I'll be in Atlanta in June. I'll be in New Orleans the end of October, it looks like, probably. And then just started planning a road trip with my best friend, possibly like Nashville, Austin to Tulsa, next April. So we'll see. And then, of course, all my regular tours. I'm going to post up. That's my project for tonight, to start downloading all of my Hago tours. I'm not going to do the edit thing, at least not right away. I'm just going to post up my Hago tours, raw footage. You get what you get. There'll be a bunch of different things. I'll have my New Orleans stuff on there. The really fun little Seattle Pike Place Market tour with the Ghost Alley Espresso coffee shop and stuff like that. So don't worry, I'm not going away. You just have to search me up under Girl on a Bus Adventures. You can do that for YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And again, if you're able to, ooh, that wind, throw me a tip today, that's great. If not, tell them, drop a quick little review, let them know something you really enjoyed about the tour. Maybe I'm great at finding cool coffee shops, or like I took you guys on the whole pier all the way out to the very end, or you had a little imagination session about what it would be like to live right on the beach and have your coffee there every morning. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming out today and joining me here in beautiful White Rock, BC. And I hope I was able to show you enough that you get a sense of what it's like out here. And as always, it was my pleasure. And please go out and have a magical rest of your day. And again, thanks for being here today. I super appreciate it. You guys are amazing. And see you Monday, if not sooner. Okay? Bye.